A quick overview of the first 16 chapters of Revelation. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to shew unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John, who bare record of the word of God, and of the testimony of Jesus Christ, and of all things that he saw. John to the 7 churches which are in Asia. Revelation chapter 1, verses 1, 2, and 4. Grace be unto you, and peace from him which is, and which was, and which is to come, and from the 7 spirits which are before his throne, and from Jesus Christ. Verses 4 and 5. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Verse 7. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. Verse 13. Unto the angel of the church of Ephesus write, chapter 2, verse 1. And unto the angel of the church in Smyrna write, verse 8. And to the angel of the church in Pergamos write, verse 12. And unto the angel of the church in Thyatira write, verse 18. And unto the angel of the church in Sardis write, chapter 3, verse 1. And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, verse 7. And unto the angel of the church of the Laodiceans write, verse 14. And immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. Chapter 4, verse 2. And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. Verse 5. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. Chapter 5, verse 6. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, chapter 6, verse 1. And when he had opened the 2nd seal, verse 3. And when he had opened the 3rd seal, verse 5. And when he had opened the 4th seal, verse 7. And when he had opened the 5th seal, verse 9. And I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, verse 12. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Chapter 7, verse 4. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes, and palms in their hands. Verse 9. And when he had opened the 7th seal, chapter 8, verse 1. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer, and filled it with fire of the altar, and cast it into the earth. And there were voices, and thunderings, and lightnings, and an earthquake. Verses 3 through 5. The first angel sounded, verse 7. And the second angel sounded, verse 8. And the third angel sounded, verse 10. And the fourth angel sounded, verse 12. And the fifth angel sounded, chapter 9, verse 1. And the sixth angel sounded, verse 13. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, chapter 10, verse 1. And I will give power unto my two witnesses, chapter 11, verse 3. And the seventh angel sounded, verse 15. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, chapter 12, verse 3. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns. Chapter 13, verse 1. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Verse 11. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. Chapter 14, verse 1. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven. Verse 6. And there followed another angel. Verse 8. And the third angel followed them. Verse 9. And I looked, and behold a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. Verse 14. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. Verse 17. And the 7 angels came out of the temple, having the 7 plagues, clothed in pure and white linen, and having their breasts girded with golden girdles. Chapter 15, verse 6. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth. Chapter 16, verse 2. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea. Verse 3. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters. Verse 4. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun. Verse 8. And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast. Verse 10. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates. Verse 12. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air. Verse 17.